name is Lucy and today I'm going to be talking about January releases that are fantasy books that I'm very excited about. So I have looked at a bunch of fantasy books and I've chosen 10 of the ones that I'm particularly really interested in reading. Some of these are sequels and I haven't read the first books, but I've looked at the first books and they sound very interesting, so I would like to read those, so I'm going to talk about those as well. The first book is Crown of Bones by A.K. Wilder. And the synopsis of this book sounds amazing. So it talks about a young heir who will raise a phantom, a high savant who is dangerous, a Mar race, and a handsome guide, and a scribe. And the scribe is destined to change it all, which sounds really cool. I like the idea of the fact that the scribe, who people don't really think much of, like they're not magical or they don't fight, but they could change everything. That sounds really interesting. So this comes out January 5th. The next book is Siege of Rage and Ruin by Django Wexler, and this also comes out on January 5th. This is the third book in the Wells of Sorcery series, but the first book sounded really interesting to me. It's about a young girl who has a magical power that means that she can collect money. She's meant to tell the government that she can do this, but she hasn't. So they find out and then they send her away to this ship. And her mission is to steal a ghost ship, and no one has ever survived this mission, but if she doesn't get it then her sister will be in deep trouble. So the next book is Law by Alexandra Bracken, and this is out on January 7th. Synopsis is a little bit confusing, but what drew me in is that it's about gods who now have to come to Earth and take part in this certain day or event where all the gods and goddesses have to come to Earth. So that sounds really interesting. I want to know why exactly and how that works and what do people think of them and what's going to happen in this book. It sounds like such a cool concept. Next up is A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Camera, and this is out on January 12th. This is book 3 in the Curse Breakers series, and the first book is A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which I have on my TBR, and I did speak about in my 21 books I went to read in 2021 video, so I will link that down below if you want to check that out. A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it follows a prince who is forced to live his 18th year over and over again, and a young girl who is swept into his life. I don't know what the other books in the series are about, and I don't really want to know too much. But having a quick look, it does seem like it follows on from the first book directly and it's not separate standalone books following different fairy tales. So I'm wondering how that can go over 3 books. What is the action that's going to keep it going? What's going to happen? If the curse is possibly broken in the first one, then what else is going to happen to them? Next up is Soul of Cinder by Brie Barton, and this is also out on January 12th. The first book in this series is Heart of Thorns, and it sounded really interesting to me. So in this book, a girl called Mia has sworn to hunt down these women with magical powers who can manipulate flesh and bones. And then one day she finds out that she actually has this power that she despises. So this sounds really interesting. Like, the one thing that she hates the most, she finds out that she has. And her mother was killed by people with these powers. So that is going to be a really interesting internal conflict, I think. And to see what is she going to do with it. Perhaps she will use this magic to still hunt down these women, or maybe she will find a different path. It sounds really interesting and I'm really excited to check that out. Next up is The Conjurer by Luann G. Smith, and this is out on 12th of January as well. And the first book in this series is called The Vine Witch, and this sounds really exciting. So it's about, in this world, there are witches that have been used in the past to help grow the vines in the vineyards. And then one day they're no longer there, and this one is cursed, I think. And then she comes back years later, and someone else owns this vineyard. And these people have no idea about these witches that existed before. And this witch therefore decides to try and help the man who owns the vineyard, but whilst keeping a secret her powers. And I feel like there's going to be a romance going on. We're going to see, because I really love fantasy with a little bit of romance in. That's great. So this sounds really exciting and I'm really interested to check this one out soon. Next book is Blood Heir by Ilona Andrews, and I think this is a spin-off from another series by the author possibly. But this is also out on 12th of January, and this follows a woman who has changed her life using magic, and now there are crimes happening and she tries to solve them. So I'm really interested to see if her past life is going to catch up to her, or if she's going to find it very difficult to be living this new life what kind of magic does she have and what kind of crimes are there? Are they using magic as well? So this sounds like a really interesting concept and I want to see what happens. So the next book is Into the Heartless Wood by Joanna Ruth Meyer. And this book sounds really cool as well. This book is about a siren who lives in a forest and she lures men and women to the forest and then uses them to power her tree and grow her domain. Now she has 3 children and one of them does not want to keep living this life, and she actually seems to fall in love with one of the men around the forest. And then this girl wants to become a human, and then there's apparently a war as well. So there seems to be a lot going on in this book and I'm interested to see what it is like. Next up is The Forever Sea by Joshua Philip Johnson. And in this world there are ships that travel on a sea of grass, and this woman's grandmother one day jumps off of her ship and goes below, and it's rumoured that she's actually trying to find out what is below. So there are beasts and a mystery. It says that there is politics about pirates and the mystery of the beasts underneath the sea and this whole different world. And this sounds like a really cool concept and I really want to see what happens and what kind of creatures are below the sea and how is it a sea of grass. And this book comes out on the 19th of January. Next we have Winterkeep by Christine Cashaw, and this is the 4th book in the Graceland realm. Now can I just say that this cover is absolutely stunning and I love it a lot. So I haven't read this series yet, but the first book, I have a story here. One day I did see it in a bookshop and it sounded interesting but I just didn't pick it up, and then ever since I have wanted to read it, and this was like years ago. So I am still intending to read the first book. And all I know of the original trilogy, because I didn't know if there was going to be a 4th one before, if they did announce it before, or if this was added on, I'm not sure. But I know that there were 3 books before and that they each follow a different character, I believe, in the same world. So that sounds cool. And I don't know if you can see the other characters in these other books, like from the previous books. But I don't actually know what this 4th book is about because I don't want to be spoiled. But I love the cover and I'm interested in reading the first book. So if you have read this series, there is a 4th one coming out soon on the 21st of January. And next up is Wings of Ebony by J.L. and this is out on the 26th of January. So this follows a young black woman whose mother is shot on their doorstep and she lives with her sister, but her father takes her away to an island of magical wielders. Discovers that she has magical powers. And crime is increasing where her sister still remains. And there's an evil that is sweeping over the island, but it seems to be the same evil that's sweeping over where her sister lives as well, in Houston. So our main character, Rue, decides to leave the island and go back to help her sister, even though this is forbidden. So this sounds really cool and I'm really excited to read this soon. It sounds like a really interesting concept, so I hope that I can get to it soon. Those are all the books that are coming out in January that I'm personally really excited for. Please let me know down below any books that you are looking forward to that are coming out in January, or if you're interested in any of these books. Thank you so much for watching and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to check out my other videos and subscribe if you would like to. And I hope to see you in another video soon.